And this happened while we were away. Your leader at the time, Stu Hayner, brings the Pontiac in for a pit stop, and he will climb out of the race car as John Heinrichsey will go in. Of course, Hayner was victorious here 1 year ago. They were leading at the time, and this pit stop came just as it had been planned.
That's right. You can see a very well orchestrated pit stop. Everyone is doing their own individual jobs.
But that gave the lead back to Joe Vardy. Now, Vardy, of course, made a pit stop very, very early. They're out of some pit sequence right now because of that, but he's back up in front in car number 7. He is the overall leader.
That's right. Just as I said earlier as well, this car has to stop early for fuel, but they even had to stop even earlier because they didn't have radio communication and they had to kind of get things sorted out so they knew how to communicate later on in the race.
Greg Creamer is standing by in the pit lane with the driver that had been leading, your winner here 1 year ago, Stu Hayner.
Indeed, Stu not only winning here last year, but the first 2 races of the season, you had yourself a pretty good start with a couple of wins. Problems at Atlanta, you suddenly find yourself 3rd place in points behind teammate Heinrichsey, who's now in the car. First of all, how's it going in this race?
Well, we're having a little trouble with, we've had some problems with the computer all weekend, and it retards the timing, so the thing just doesn't go down the straightaway quite as fast as what we'd like, and it shows, you know, we're getting passed by some of the cars that are going, but we think that we've got a good car and it's handling really well. I'm hardly using the brakes and using the tires up, so we think by the end of 6 hours we'll have a car that's fresher than theirs. As long as they don't keep going at the rate they're going, we'll be okay, I think. Yeah, we had some big troubles at Atlanta. We had a winning car there and then got caught in the rainstorm. But I think this weekend we're going to do well just because we do well in long races.
Well, Stu, we wish you all the best. Obviously, a lot of time yet to go. Gentlemen?
Thank you.
David, we have talked a lot about brakes. What can a driver do to really conserve the brakes over 6 hours?
Well, it's really a delicate balance because one would think you just get on the brakes not quite as hard. But in reality, sometimes that's even worse because you have to brake a lot longer. You build a lot of heat up. So you have to kind of balance it between getting on them hard and not staying on them too long. And that way they can help preserve them without putting too much heat into them. Because once the brakes get real hot, then the wear factor goes up very quickly.
Jeff, veteran driver, Jeff Perner, you have a thought on the brake situation.
Well, I think you're going to see the brakes becoming an issue. This racetrack, particularly down into turn 1, you're on the brakes for a long time and fairly hard, and then immediately after that going into the turn 3 area. You do get a fair amount of racetrack to let the brakes cool, which is good, and that does help to conserve them. But the drivers have to be thinking about it the whole time that they're in the car. Certainly their co-driver is not going to appreciate it if they get in and don't have any brakes, so they need to be aware of that the whole time they're in the car and just really taking it easy going into those braking zones.
There you notice on the screen there that Joe Vardy's flashing his lights on and off, and I know the way we used to run the Porsches and even in the BMWs we run now, we have a reserve tank, and when we go into the reserve tank, maybe he's getting a light on the dashboard, fuel is low, to get the team ready for the pit stop.
We've been watching the Zero car. That's the Hacker Express. Paul Hacker started this race in 12th position. This car now is up to 5th. Of course, the Hacker Express with Carl and brother Paul, and they have won so many times in IMSA competition over the years.
They're very, very seasoned veterans in this type of racing. They really know what they're doing. Of course, they fielded the factory Oldsmobile team years ago, just 2 or 3 years ago actually, for several seasons. Did very well, won a championship, and now they switched to the big cars Grand Sports class and gone with Ford. They've been struggling a bit with these cars. They've been learning a whole lot about them, and now you see it's really beginning to pay off.
You caught a glimpse in an earlier shot of the leader. There's the leader top of your screen. So right now the leader is actually a full lap in front of 5th place. Well, you know, Jeff Perner is a pretty good instructor as well as a pit guy and a driver.
Jason Priestley is best known for his role as Brandon Walsh on the hit television show Beverly Hills 90210. But he's also become an avid racer, competing in rallies all over the world. Now, though, he's decided to move off the forest trails and onto high-speed road course racing, IMSA style.
You know, I'm very comfortable, in the car and very comfortable with the cars and everything. It's very different, of course, from the rally racing I was doing for the last 3 years, because you're not going sideways quite as much, but it feels good.
It was a pretty substantial change, so Jason enlisted our own Jeff Perner, a world-class racer and chief instructor at the Road Atlanta Driver Training Center, to ease the transition and shorten that learning curve. Now, you never really know what to expect with a new student, especially when dubbed a star. What did Jeff discover?
So you meet somebody the first time, you don't really know what to expect, you know. You watch my TV and, you know, that the character that they're playing isn't who they really are. And he's a great guy, a lot of fun to be around, and, you know, really listens well and is absorbing as much as he possibly can. And I think he's going to be a real good race car driver. I don't know about it ever being a career. I don't know if I'm, you know, if I'm a good enough driver or anything like that yet to make a judgment on that. But you know, it is something that I really love doing, and I would you know, like to pursue it as far as I can.
Well, with the help of Jeff's expert instruction, will Jason replace his actor's clothes with a full-time driver suit?
If I could get paid to do this, I mean, that would be the best thing ever.
Yeah, it was a great thing working with Jason. I really enjoyed it. He's a good guy, and he is going to be a good race car driver. He's dedicated and serious about it, and yeah, and I had a lot of fun with him. Good time.
Of course, Jason not racing here this weekend because duty calls, and he's out making a movie in Nova Scotia, so he's not getting paid well to drive. He's getting paid well to act, and that is why he is acting this weekend and not racing. It looks like the leader may be headed for the pit lane. Yes, Joe Vardy in car number 70.
You see,
made an early pit stop, but now he's making what is going to be a routine pit stop, we think. And Greg, you're down there in position.
Absolutely, and also is Sylvain Tremblay, the driver that put this car in pole for the second straight race. He is going to replace Vardy due to the heat. Of course, they're going to try and change drivers fairly frequently to keep them fresh. Because of that first stop that only took, about 30 minutes into the race, Vardy elected to stay in, but Tremblay going to be getting on board this time. Vardy out, you can see the car up on the jacks, going for fuel. Remember, they kept this car up on the jacks a long, long time to make sure that they had that fuel absolutely topped off. In terms of economy, this is the car that gets the worst in this category. You can also see they're topping the oil up, so they are using oil just a little bit. That's a bit of a feature of the rotary engine. They go through it just a little bit more. Not really a problem. They're just being cautious, topping it off, checking the brakes. Again, we heard Jeff talk about brakes being a serious factor here. They're making sure, no need to do brakes right now. Fuel is up. They're topping the oil off, car is down, and the hood is going to drop right now. Little problem getting the pins on. They actually completed the change of the fueling quicker than re-oiling the car, if you will. And he is out of the car. We're going to see if we can sneak over here real quick and grab Joe and just see how it went. See if we can grab him here. He's pulling the gloves off. Joe, how'd it go out there?
Pretty good. If everything's running fine, the car's running good. We're not getting the mileage we expected to get, but it's a pretty hot day, and we're sticking by our plan. We're doing fine.
You don't look to be having any problem with heat. You look comfortable.
I'm going to fall in a few minutes.
Okay, it's all an act, obviously. I mean, he's out of the car, he's going to relax. Back up top. What you see is not necessarily what you get. Vardy, a pretty accomplished mechanic as well, working out of the Charlotte area on some Busch cars. And that puts the number 20 car back in the lead. So Boris Said now leads here at Texas World Speedway in the 6-hour Endurance Championship. The attrition rate certainly will play a role in the 6-hour endurance run here at Texas World Speedway. And now while we were away, Bernell Cochran in car number 3. This is the car that actually won the championship last year with Andy Pilgrim. And he lost something, perhaps a head gasket or something in that power plant. Yeah, you can see the definite big puff of smoke. And then he makes a pretty good decision here. He lets the Mustang by, and then he just pulls it off an escape road. But you can see smoke coming from the middle, which in and out of the tailpipe, which is definitely not a good sign. Well, there's a look at Cochran as he is explaining what perhaps happened. Let's go down to the pit area. David Murray, who is a co-driver, is standing by with Greg Creamer.
David, a little bit of smoke out of the back of the car. The co-driver pulled it off over in turn 3. Any idea what happened?
No, I really don't know right now. I just saw in turn 1, Bernie went in and had smoke come out of the back of the car. I don't know if it's engine, transmission, rear, what it is. And he went around the back, and our trailer's over there, so he just parked it, pulled it off the course, and could get back to the trailer that way. He parked it back there, but I haven't talked to him, and I don't know what it is.
It's a car that's had a pretty good history in this series, though.
Yeah, I think it was a championship last year, and the car's a great car. We were running, I think, 6th or 5th or 6th, And it was a solid car. We had no problems. The temperatures, everything looked fine. So I really don't know what, it was totally unexpected what happened. But there's a chance I might get in the 5 car with Don Knowles and those guys. So we'll try to keep our team hopes alive for Cochran Motorsports.
A little bit of a change of pace here. You've been doing this type of racing, and you've been racing at Daytona in the 24 hours for a long time. Looks like you might be getting a little break with some open wheel equipment here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, well, I started my career in Formula 4, did the first 4 years in that, and kind of all came full circle now, and IRL's trying to get some good folks in the field and get to fill it up. So in spite of that, they still called me and asked me to come do the rookie test, provided there are some backup cars available. So I won't know until after first round of qualifying if there are cars available, but if there are, then I'll get a chance to do that.
Great opportunity for you. Wish you all the best.
Very much. You know, that's the thing with IRL right now, that gives a great opportunity for guys like me to get involved, where karts race in Michigan, so there's a lot of spots that aren't filled. So it's a great opportunity to me, and I'm really thankful to Tony George and all those guys.
Hey, Gary, I would assume that David gets a chance like that, he is going to jump on it.
I would think most drivers probably would with a chance like that. Now, David is driving as a teammate to Rob Walton. Interestingly enough, he worked with Rob for some time before he realized that he was a billionaire in a connection with Walmart. So sometimes you need a program to know the players. So once again, your leader now, Boris Said, has completed some 88 laps as we look at the upcoming schedule. Of course, you can see all these events here on Speed Vision. Watkins Glen in June. In July is Sears Point, Sonoma, California, and Mossport Park on August the 26th. The race continues, though, today from Texas World Speedway.
Welcome back to Texas World Speedway. We're here with Bart Hayes. Just got out of the Duragloss Ford Mustang. You got a great run at Road Atlanta. Good finish there. What happened today?
Well, we lost the rear end. Yeah, you're right. The Duragloss Ford Mustang was really running good today, and I'd even backed out of it, wasn't even breaking a sweat. It's a real disappointment for the team.
That's too bad, because you guys were looking good, I think as high as 5th place, and you were probably hoping for another good finish here in Texas.
Yeah, we were kind of laying back there. That was our strategy. We'd lost the draft there somewhat, and I was trying to make up a little bit of ground, but I'd lowered the revs and was shifting easier and braking easier and all the things you do to conserve a car. And then I shifted into 5th, going up in the banking, and I just lost all forward momentum.
Well, now taking a look overall now as they were standing after 2 hours into this 6-hour event. Boris Said continues to lead. John Kohler is now in the 2nd position. Hayes was running 3rd. Now, once again, that 0 Mustang is now on the sideline, and Tremblay then moved to 3rd position in number 70. As we take a look at the rest of the overall rundown, the first 14 positions are from the Ground Sport Division, and leading in the Sports Division, Chris Wilson has been in the cockpit from the start of the race. Bill Pate is leading in Touring, and Mike Mitchell is leading in the compacts. Strategy, first of all, attrition will be a problem. The physical condition of the driver will be a problem, but beyond that, strategy at this point in the race.
Well, definitely the ability of the driver to keep it going. We're getting reports up here since we're in a nice air-conditioned little booth, but it's apparently getting pretty hot down there, and some of the drivers are getting out of the cars and just pretty much falling to their knees. So the attrition of the driver and the ability for him to stay aware is definitely going to be a factor.
What are these drivers using to stay cool?
Some drivers have, like you see in NASCAR, they have a hose that goes into their helmets, and sometimes that hose goes through a chiller or it's a cooler with some fins in it, a bunch of ice packed in it. Air gets blown through, gets cold, and blows into their helmet. Those are really good because you get a lot of fresh air from the outside rather than the dirty air, which is inside the car very often. And that really helps to keep you aware.
Well, you're watching Boris Said as he continues to lead in the Mustang. Car number 20, the overall leader. Now, a little earlier in the compact division, your leader at the time was John Norris. Norris came in, and they made a driver change with Mike Mitchell going out. Now, they had a big enough lead that actually they never lost the lead.
No, they seem to really have it in hand. What happened, I was walking down right after qualifying, and I was talking to a bunch of guys down there. They really don't know what this car's capable of doing right now, the rest of the competition, that is. So really, this is the first time people are seeing what it's made of. I tell you, it's really made of a lot right now. They can go a long way.
Well, they went 2 hours without making a stop. Let's go down and check in with John Norris.
Okay, we're in here at the pits with John Norris. Just got out of the Nissan 200SX, the leader in the compact class. John, that's a long run on a tank of gas. It looks like that might be to your advantage.
I think we're looking in pretty good shape. The Nissan 240 is running great, and I got the luck with the traffic. I got the draft for some quicker cars down the front straight, helped me keep the speed up, and also helped me save a little fuel. So we're trying to make a 2-hour run here so we can make it in 2 stops instead of 3 stops. We'll see how that goes. But everything's working great. It's a lot of fun. It's great fun.
That's good. Trying to make it a 2-stop race here with the Nissan. That will work out to their advantage.
Tell you what, they must have an ace in the hole because they maintained the lead. The other guys were dropping off, making pit stops, changing drivers. They stayed out for 2 hours before they made the change. And as you heard, he's drafting with faster cars, which gets him down the front straight faster, but also conserves some fuel.
Yeah, right now you can see they're pretty much running alone. But that definitely, the 2-hour stop, or almost 2 hours to the first stop, is definitely an advantage. For them to run out there right now, they really have to conserve the car. They've got it in hand, and they have quite a lead as far as we can tell from here in the booth. So they're doing a great job there.
Running 25th overall, but right now they have a commanding lead in the compact class as the 6-hour endurance championship race continues here at Texas World. Today we come to you from College Station, Texas, and in the background you can barely see Kyle Field. That's the football stadium at Texas A&M University, just down the road from Texas World Speedway. And it has been a beautiful afternoon for the race fans. Hot and humid, partly cloudy skies, despite a forecast calling for a threat of thunderstorms this afternoon. Rob Walton will come sliding across the screen. The first of 2 off-track excursions for Rob Walton in the white number 5. Now this was earlier. He got the thing straightened out, got back on course, and about 2 laps later took another off-track excursion. And what could have happened, Dave?
Boy, you know, I've had this sort of thing happen. You end up breaking your rhythm, and you're trying to make up the time from the first spin, and you just end up overcooking it. Either that or the tires may be going away. Maybe they're trying to go a little bit too far on one set of tires. He's probably being real cautious now, trying to keep the car stable and drive real smoothly just to keep it from happening again, because it's awfully embarrassing as a driver.
Well, of course, David is a BMW driver, and also joining us now in the broadcast booth, another BMW driver. This is Kyle Chura out of Michigan. And Kyle, the number 51 BMW had some trouble very, very early on today.
Yeah, in the initial pace lap there, I was going around waiting to get the start there, and I noticed that our temperature gauge jumped way up. Part of my job as a driver to make sure we monitor the happenings of the car, and we do that through the various gauges on the dashboard. So in a 6-hour race, I came in before we took the green, and we bled our coolant system and went back out, and we're running real strong now.
Barry Waddell is in the car out of Evansville, Indiana. In fact, a driving instructor for the Barber School. And let's talk about track conditions. When the race began, the track temperature was 80 degrees. Obviously, as the sun bakes the Rob Walton now, we understand, back in the pit area after those 2 off-track excursions, and they're making a driver change to car number 5. But as the temperature of the track increases with the sunshine set from the track, obviously it's getting slippery.
Correct. You especially notice that it's coming out of turn 7, going out onto the bank out there. The car is really going to want to push hard. So you just really got to adjust your braking points and make sure you're running within yourself, especially coming around the bank here down the main straight. When you go into turn 1, you really can't rest on the main straight. So you really got to pay attention the whole time and adjust your driving abilities to the track.
Well, as we're talking, we see some pit stops, including a pit stop by your lead car, the number 20 Mustang. Boris Said had been out there. Sean Hendricks had the driving chore early on and put that car in the lead before he turned it over to Boris Said. So is this about a routine pit stop, David, or are we a little early?
It looks it to me. I mean, everybody's doing their jobs. No one seems to be getting a little restless or spending too much time. It looks like they're having a little bit of a problem on the rear. No, I have to correct myself. They're just trying to get all the fuel in they can. But boy, pit lane was really crowded there for about 2 minutes.
The longest part of a pit stop is the refueling, and you can see the refueling on the right side, so stretch that hose across the back of the race car.
Yeah, that's something that's different at this track particularly, because most of the tracks we run mostly right turns, where this one's mostly left turns, and very usually that door to the gasoline filler is on the pit wall side rather than the far side. And of course, being pretty much stock cars, they're not allowed to just change the fueler like you do on a stock car.
Well, John Kohler back in the lead now in car number 47, as the lead car had been number 20 with Boris said. He climbs out, and Sean Hendricks will be back behind the wheel when that car leaves the pit area. So a round of pit stops now, shuffling the standings somewhat, as John Kohler will have the lead in that car right there, number 47. Kyle, we're talking about the slick track conditions. Let's talk about the heat conditions inside the cockpit. We're seeing some drivers really extending themselves as they come out of that race car.
That's true, and maybe the drivers that are extending themselves now are not getting back in the car, but like myself, I got one more stint to do at the end, so I'm up here in the air conditioning, taking in some fluid to make sure I can get back out there.
You act like you'd like to stay up here for a while.
This isn't so bad. You guys just need some hors d'oeuvres, and this would be great.
But that's right down the next suite.
But on some of the cars, you notice that they have hoses hanging out the window on either side. That's to cool the driver off. But on our car, we have all 3 windows up, and we have a water bottle inside the car. So we're giving up a little, not hanging anything out the window for that straight line speed. But in addition, in those first couple laps, when we got the coolant system bled, I was running around with the heater on. So just to make sure the car was cooling properly.
How long, once you get back in the race car, will it take you to get up to a rhythm? You've been watching the race from both the pit area and now from up here in the press box. And how long is it going to take as we watch Knowles back in car number 5? How long will it take you to get back up to a rhythm?
About 2 or 3 laps. You just got to make sure you don't overextend yourself when you go out in the first couple laps to get a rhythm back. And just make sure you're driving smart and not in anybody's way. And get a feel for the car and the track conditions, because you haven't been in the car for a couple hours. So it all comes screaming back in a hurry.
Kyle, thanks for joining us. Let's run around to the pit area. Greg, you have a comment on the Pontiacs?
Well, indeed, we've talked about these cars being showroom stock, not purebred race machinery, and therefore not full of trick, quick change components. However, when you get into a race of about this length, 6 hours or so, sometimes the rear differential in the car can start to go away. You can't just pop it open and change it. These are stock machines. It's far easier to replace the whole drivetrain, if you will. Drive shaft, the axles, and the differential all in one component. Now they got it wired so that they could do the brake very quickly, rehook that up, and of course sway bars, everything. They figured they could do this. They practiced it in about 4 minutes, and you change this entire back end of the car. That's pretty remarkable. Now, more information down on the other end of additional adjustments you could make from Jeff.
That's right. You've heard of the Big Bertha golf clubs. Well, take a look at the Big Bertha sledgehammer. I mean, you wouldn't expect something like this to be a part of a pit crew member's routine here, but occasionally you have to get into something like this with these sheet metal bodies out there. It's very close running out there, very slippery racetrack, and once in a while fenders get caved in, and this is what they use to knock them back out.
I wonder, as a driving instructor, if you've ever used that on a student.
Knock a little sense into him every once in a while.
Well, as we watch once again, John Kohler is your leader. We just, as we told you, we documented the pit stop by then the race leader, car number 24, is said, and Sean Hendricks took over. But right now, after that pit stop, John Kohler has the point in car number 47 as the race continues here at Texas World Speedway. Pit activity here at Texas World Speedway. That is the number 60 car that had been leading in its class. Chris Wilson, the fast qualifier, pulls in after 2.5 hours of driving, a long driving stint, and Greg Lobel takes it back out. So a good pit stop and really a lengthy drive for one driver.
Yes, I mean, you look at it, it's about 2.5 hours that he was in the car, and he probably did the first stop without changing. I find it hard to believe that they could actually go that long without stopping, so I assume that they stopped before. We might have missed it.
Interesting situation earlier in the race. We talked about the junkyard motor. Randy Popes has joined us now in the booth. And tell us how it was. Obviously, you lost the power plant yesterday. How did you find this engine?
Well, the Passing Motorsports team got on the cellular phone immediately after we had an engine problem, and right at the beginning of practice, called around Houston, and we found an engine in the junkyard out of a Honda Prelude SI that had been wrecked. So Matt, the crew guy, got in the crew cab dually and just ripped on down the road to Houston and got back with the motor. JJ, the crew chief, put it in the car. We drove it around a little bit on the road last night because these cars are almost street legal, and put some time on it this morning with an emergency hardship lap, and the motor was running great. We were going virtually as fast as we were because a stock engine prepared by Honda, that's not all you're allowed to do in this class. But we only made one lap. It overheated. Turns out the engine had some damage as a result of the accident from the junkyard. So we're going to have to go back, see if we can get a refund
That's going to be a tough one to prove, I think, to the folks you got the motor from.
We'll tell them we only did one lap at Texas World Speedway.
Andy Pilgrim on the track now in number 1. So if you're in the market for a slightly used engine, we have it for you. 6th overall right now. Andy Pilgrim, he's the defending champion of this race. And right now he is tied for 4th in the point standings with Kit Teasdale. So 6th overall is Andy Pilgrim in car number 1, and obviously a long, long way to go to make up the ground that he has lost, because we're only into about 2 hours and 40 minutes of a 6-hour event.
They've got a couple laps to make up, and that's going to be real difficult. The 20 car is now on the same lap as the leader again, and Sean Hendricks is back in it. Like I said before, all he knows is just to go. That's all he knows.
The Mustangs have the speed, but thus far this year they haven't really shown the reliability, Gary, and this is a long, long race. These Pontiacs have been really proven last year, especially Andy's team, the wheel-to-wheel Pontiac racing team, and they might be able to pull it off if they get lucky, because the Mustangs are out front right now, and maybe they'll have their gremlins pop up that we've seen in the races earlier this year.
One of the team drivers for the leading sports car right now is with Greg Creamer.
Yeah, a gentleman who no doubt has gone door handle to door handle with Randy Popst a few times in this series is with us, Chris Wilson. Chris, first question for you. You went almost 2.5 hours in that car from green flag to your second stop. Sort of an Ironman performance here.
Yeah, well, I didn't get my workout in today, so I figured I'd stay out there an extra stint just to make sure that, getting some pounds off. But the DC Sports Honda VTEC is just running flawless. I was a little worried about the Toyota. He was able to run an hour and 45 minutes without fueling, and we've fueled twice now. But on the track, it seems like we've got him by a little bit, so hopefully we can keep this pace going, and if our fuel strategy works where we have to fuel more than him and run faster on the track, I guess we'll just have to go with that. But the guys gave me a great car. What else can I say other than perfect pit stops? First time I kind of caught him off guard, though. I came in because it cut up on the banking, so I said I'm coming in, and my co-driver wasn't ready, and so that's the real reason for me doing 2 stints, but things are going well.
Obviously pressing the fuel economy right to the limit to try and make this race in as few stops as possible. So far, so good for the number 60 Honda.
Greg Lobel now in the cockpit, and they have maintained the lead despite the pit stop as we take you back and show you the leader of the touring class. That is car number 31 going through the S's through the road course section here at Texas World Speedway.
Remember what I said at the opening of the show, that teamwork on and off the track, and that's where you really see the teamwork off the track coming up to help the leader.
Randy Popst has joined us once again here in the broadcast booth. In this section of the racetrack, Randy, has to be frustrating for a driver because you really can't do much but follow the guy in front of you. And if you're in a car that's actually faster than the guy in front of you, you're tucked in behind him and you're stuck till you get to turn 8.
That's the truth, and for that reason, you want to really make an effort to keep a guy that you know is going to be slower than you behind you as you're entering that section if you can. There's one place right at the end of the short, squiggling, straight squirt in the middle of that infield section where you can just duck under somebody if you really need him badly. Now, it's kind of risky. You might end up exchanging a little bit of paint, but if you need to get by a guy desperately, you can. Of course, in a 6-hour race, that's not a wise strategy. It's best to be patient and follow behind, bide your time in the long run of the pair.
The leader there, Hine, in the touring class is now 18th overall. So you can see as they've spread out somewhat as the race continues into its 3rd hour. The leader now is car number 47, John Kohler. We anticipate a pit stop very soon with perhaps some mechanical changes to that car, so we'll come back and document that from Texas World Speedway.